まったく見張り一つできないのか。
最高の武器を見せつけてやるの。
I have finally watched this series. It was released in 2017, but I've heard nothing about it until maybe 2020 or even 21, I don't exactly remember. YouTube recommended me a video with the fight scenes from the King of Fighters Destiny. And I thought those were cutscenes from the game. There are so many games in this series. I have played a lot of them, but I'm sure there are some I haven't even heard about. I just thought, okay, it's something like Maximum Impact? I should check it later, sometime. Many months later, I found out it was a series, like non-commercial, non-profit. Well, I'm not sure about terminology. They released it on YouTube when the product was ready. I mean, not after 10 years. I extremely appreciate such projects, and it's not a crap. I think it's a high-quality story with interesting animation. Comparing to Fatal Fury anime, I really like how it looks. Nowadays, when some old people, like me, can feel how animation gets worse and weirder day by day, it's like a breath of fresh air. Sometimes the Chinese make it beautiful in 3D. Yeah, this series is not Japanese, but the aesthetics is the same as in 3D Japanese games. I know that the Chinese and Koreans also make such games, but for me, this style always will be Japanese. It's like anime, but people look like people. Anyway, normal looking people cannot make anything good without an interesting plot. Well, I had not enough time for watching the series in those days. So, many months later, I watched 2 first episodes. And it was definitely not enough to feel interest for the story, because the real duration of one episode is too short. And the only thing happened was the death of Jeff Bogart. The interpretation differs from Fatal Fury's one, but in general I wasn't impressed. So, many months later, actually a few days ago, I had much time for playing games. And for some reason I decided to try Dreamcast versions of some of the King of Fighters games. And after that I thought, oh, that Destiny series, I should watch it, up to the end. I started from the 3rd episode. And surprisingly, I understood, the more I was watching, the more I was getting into it emotionally, mentally. They made the plot much sharper than the one of Fatal Fury anime, which I consider to be one of the best among the fighting games screen adaptations. Maybe side stories helps a lot. You watch that active 3D animation and suddenly the next episode is made of still images, like brush painted, and like in a lot of fighting games. You listen more, and the past of the characters makes some sense. And the cartoon becomes not only about fighting. The plot gains integrity, so I think it's important to watch episodes without long intervals. But it may take about 4 hours at once. I split it into 3 evenings, and in the 2nd evening it was really hard to stop watching. And after that I rewatched the whole series again, and I couldn't understand why I was always postponing it. Today I played the King of Fighters 2002 and watched some episodes again, and now I feel like, damn, I should write down my thoughts and make a video. The plot focuses mainly on Terry Bogard and Kyo Kusanagi. Some stories of other characters' lives are told as well. And there are 2 villains, Geese Howard and Rugal Bernstein. I remember I spent a lot of time finding out the way to defeat him in the King of Fighters 98. And Geese Howard is not tough at all in Fatal Fury. The story of Terry is the same as in the first Fatal Fury anime in general, but a lot of details were changed. Geese killed Terry's father by himself. Tang Fudu wasn't there, and Jeff sent his sons to him, but their ways were split somehow. So the old master made a strange decision, just like he did in Fatal Fury anime. Just go somewhere and learn martial arts somehow.
Return here in 10 years, then you can avenge your father's murder.
He wasn't killed by Billy Kane. Actually, we don't even see him. The way Terry met Joe in a bar is quite similar, but the fight was initiated by Joe. The major difference is the stray girl. She's blonde and her name is Angelina instead of Lily. And it even seems like she had home. No, really, what was that house in the background? Why did Terry leave her there? She's not implicated in murdering Terry's father. There is a side story of her. She had to steal for some people who were overseeing kids in the streets. She was beaten at least twice by them, and Terry couldn't protect her the last time. Her answer, which means yes, when she was asked if she wanted to leave, it was voiced harrowingly. You really feel for her. That rape attempt scene, the scene before poisoning attempt, the scene when she gets injured. She takes much more screen time here. So finally you think something like, poor girl. In Fatal Fury anime it wasn't a tragedy that they definitely wanted it to be. By the way, there's a mistake in Ticket's inscription. And this mistake is not the only one. Well, I can understand if small group of people makes mistakes when they create something together. But the credit title lasts as long as one episode lasts. I'm sure a lot of those people had watched the series before it was released. The story of Kyo Kusanagi is not dramatic. He has no any special purpose. It feels like he just was attracted by some mystical power and he wanted to find out if it was Orochi power, looking by the way for some worthy rivals. I think Benimaru as a comic character is in the front line all the time. He has a side story too, but it's quite poor in facts. So we just watch him doing some stupid actions and talking too much. Kyo is always in the shadow of Benimaru. His another teammate, Goro Daimon, is a unique character too. He keeps silence almost all the time, but you cannot forget him. There are too many scenes with him. From the very beginning they are together. And it's the only team that shows us almost all the match in the tournament. All fights of all members. The match against American sports team was very long and tense. Kyo defeats Rugal with the help of other fighters. What makes him the king of fighters. But anyway, the tournament has no end in this series. I was disappointed Leona wasn't there. I can only imagine how beautiful she could be. Hydorn is an important character. He helps Terry and Kyo a lot. There's no his side story, but we see how he has lost his eye. Unfortunately, not many fights with him are shown. In fact, the plot is built around black crystals that were stolen by Machu for Rugal, and Hydorn investigates that crime. There's a mistake in his name, and I think it can be the result of translation from Japanese, because there's always a vowel after R sound. Hydorn. The problem is this is Ru, not Re. Hydorn. But I don't remember such mistake in the game, and in another scene we see it written correctly. Only one fight of Ikari team was shown, the fight between Clark and Kim Cup 1, but it's one of the best fighting scenes in the series. Almost pure fight, no one fires a bare hand. When Clark lost his shades, I thought for the first time how it's stupid to fight wearing them and a cap at the same time. But he can't fight without them. Well, he definitely can see much more than Shingen-san. Billy Kane really shines in this series. A couple of pretty long fighting scenes. That chained bow looks amazing. In Fatal Fury 2 I was suffering for hours trying to beat him. This adaptation is really great. Arrogant self-confidence. Yeah, that's him. To be fair, no one has defeated him in the series, but he couldn't beat Ryo and Terry as well. And Ryo was beaten by mine. Hydorn just threw a grenade. King. Ah, she's perfect here. That outfit shows off her lovely figure. Originally created to mislead a player about her sex, she becomes prettier and prettier from game to game, always staying serious. Here we see her as the quintessence of all her images from the games, like she took the best from each image. She's gorgeous, absolutely. I really like everything about her in this series. And annoying girls like Mai and Yuri just set off such beautiful, even-tempered women. Well done, perfect adaptation. Watching her, I realized that I've never met a girl like her in real life. Even if someone looks really good, that someone talks and acts too much or too expressive. Or sometimes they seem to be living dead. Or just too stupid. Well, this world isn't perfect. It's not bad, I just wanna say, she represents the rare type of women. The image of Kin is balanced, in different meanings. But we see she is still a human. Money awakes her emotions. Well, it's also a comedy after all. They tried to explain her name. She leaves a Kin card after a job. I don't remember I've seen it in the games. Maybe I just haven't played that game or it's really something new. Anyway, it's a nice try. I like it. Athena looks like a normal human. I don't mean her psycho power. I mean the features of her face and proportions of her body. I got a feeling like she changed many more times than other characters in the game series. And usually her face looks more anime-like. This is her best face, in my opinion. Maybe not the best legs, but normal body in general. In this scene there is another mistake, like Bleach. Athena has suddenly disappeared during the fall and appeared again lying on the floor. These frames just don't contain her body at all. Some characters change their outfits when it comes to fight, but some don't. Mai just wears a coat over her standard costume. And Korn never takes off his jacket. He even meditates in that jacket. Terry at least had another jacket when he was younger. And we see him without his cap only before his dad gives it him, and it was right before his death. Funny, after that we see a scene from the past where he's going to train with his father, and he already wore that cap. Maybe it was another one, who knows. Geese and Rugal wear suits at work, and Kin takes off her waistcoat sometimes. When the fighters are affected by crystals, there are some really interesting locations. The metal room with moving walls, the blue polygon room, and the red virtual-like corridor. I had a feeling like I was watching the Cube movie, and that corridor was the Hypercube combined with the darkness of Metal Cube. The light atmosphere of the blue room reminded me of the Hypercube as well. And what happened there? I said before Ryo was beaten by Mai, and Mai, enhanced by crystal power, couldn't beat Andy. Kin beat Terry. In the tournament Andy was weaker than Terry. Terry defeated Geese. So Kin is stronger than any of them? But Ryo defeated Kin before. I'm just trying to build a logic chain. And I failed. It seems like Kin has been training hard since then. Or that Orochi power suits her. I tried to find the soundtrack, but there's only the opening theme. A lot of tracks were taken from the games. For the opening song they rearranged Asaka melody and added the lyrics. But I don't remember any game with that disturbing melody. I've watched the series, I can't forget it. It's like the leading track of the series, fighting track. You hear it, then you watch what's going on. In other cases I don't usually hear music, I just watch. And I had to listen to the background melodies intentionally while I was rewatching the series to understand there is more music at all. It's a really nice track. I like this one as well. But they didn't use it so often, so I remembered it after watching. And it sounds familiar. I cannot understand if it is a rearranged game track, or maybe that kind of style just is used much in SNK games. Anyway, it sounds pretty good. And I would like to have it in my player just to listen to, at home. But I couldn't find any info about the soundtrack. They should have released it. Terry says,
Come on!
to Chingensai, it really sounds weird. Playing the games, I never pay attention to such things.
Hey, come on!
They may tell anything to anyone. I understand it's a lot of work to make some standard words completely fit the situation. But here I think they made it intentionally. A young man says to an old master,
Come on!
and immediately after that shows him respect. As I said before, it's a comedy after all. Another unusual thing is Mai's teeth. I've never thought there are gaps between almost all her teeth. I know some people really have such teeth, but why did the creators decide to endow her with such anatomical rarity? She already has one. 2. In some scenes her teeth seem normal, but we can't see them so close. Well, maybe those are just shadows. We also see an orphan boy, and Terry promised him to be his father. But we don't know what happened after the tournament. The boy didn't tell his name, so I suppose him to be Rock Howard. Well, the plot is very close to the games. If you play them, you should watch it, if you still haven't. It's a good series, and it's not an anime. The moves are detailed. The picture is nice. But I think it's not what hits your head, your brain, like something very unusual. The impression comes slowly, episode by episode. I needed quite much time to taste it, but then I understood it's yummy.